countrymen, lend me your ear, for I have a dream that one day you will be free of the fallacy. Now, this dream is hard to achieve in our day and age when our society is constantly changing the things around us. So rapidly are things changing that when we look to the past 50, 100 years, we've radically changed what we wear, what we eat, and even who we're allowed to eat with and who is acceptable to be around. Now, these changes that we've seen even are branching out to everything in our society, including how we lie to each other and how we trick each other. Now, this has changed massively as society has progressed, as it's no longer as straightforward as it used to seem. The most common way that is now used to trick and convince someone of your own thinking is a fallacy. Now, what is a fallacy exactly? A fallacy is an error in reasoning. It is something that appears to be correct and appears to be sound and reasonable, but upon closer inspection we find that there's nothing to it. It's empty. It's logic that is error. It does not work. Now, how does this apply to us? What are we to gain from learning about these fallacies? Well, the way fallacies affect us is in many ways seen in our daily life. Everyone around us is trying to convince us to buy something or that something is the best for us. And a lot of the times the way they do it is in a dishonest way. Now, as I've done research on the fallacies and how they affect our society, it runs deep in our society. Everywhere we turn, we can see examples, whether it be in the advertisement or even in our political races. We can see people trying to trick and lie to each other in every new and inventive way they can. So what can we do to stop this? Well, first we have to understand what the fallacy is in order to know when it is being presented to us. And I'm here to focus today on two fallacies, and those are circular reasoning and the appeal to authority. Now, why exactly are these two important to understand? Well, as for appeal to authority, as I've done my research, I can safely say without a doubt that it is the most important fallacy that we can understand. And as for circular reasoning, it's incredibly important to understand it because it's something that is imperative for us to grasp. Now, how these fallacies come into effect can be seen in such a way as understanding their definition. And the first one I want to look at is the appeal to authority. Now, the appeal to authority, the formal definition of the thing itself, it isn't a fallacy in of itself. It is simply a logical argument that we can use. It says that some form has an authority over this subject. So we'll say NASA has authority on suns or stars. Now, NASA says all stars will die out. It says this is what happens to stars. So someone could argue then that according to NASA, all stars will die. All stars will explode. Now that would be a logical form of the appeal to authority. Now when it becomes formally incorrect, when it becomes a formal fallacy, is when the appeal to the authority claims that it is without a doubt correct, that it cannot be proved wrong. Because the argument of itself is inductive, which means it can't prove something without a doubt. It can only say something is very likely. Now, this shows how this could be exampled is, even with the same thing, how this can become a fallacy, is NASA says NASA knows about stars. NASA says stars will die. Therefore, all stars will die without a doubt. There is no question that stars will ever live forever. They will all die. That became a fallacy. Even though we can think that these assumptions are true, formally it is a fallacy because that argument cannot prove that. That argument cannot say that something is true for certain. Now, Now, what is used in more common terms for the appeal to authority is that when it violates one of two things that are required for something to be authoritative, which is legitimate expertise and expertise consensus, which is basically saying that this subject, the authority knows about the subject and they're a legitimate resource on the subject. And then the second thing is that this legitimate resource is all the people at this authority agree that they're not picking off some small splinter faction that may be within this group. Now, how would this fallacy then be committed in this way? Well, we take often what we see in advertisements, a misuse of someone as authority. We give respect or authority to celebrities. So we say, Shaquille O'Neal says that Boulder Creek makes the best guitars in the world. Well, we're appealing to his authority, but what does Shaquille O'Neal, a basketball player, know anything at all about playing guitar? See, we've made an incorrect assumption in his authority, his legitimate expertise, and so he has nothing to do with the subject, and that becomes a fallacy in itself. Now, appeal to authority isn't the only fallacy we are going to be dealing with. Circular reasoning is also another fallacy that can be seen commonly. An example of something of circular reasoning is, and its formal and common use are usually one and the same. Now, it says that something is true based upon itself. It uses the premise to support both the premise and the conclusion. So, an example would be, walking is beneficial because walking is good for you. It's saying the same thing twice, but rearranging it in a way so that you can try and convince someone that saying the same thing twice has been shown to be true. And an example, of course, would be circular reasoning works because circular reasoning works. And it goes on, and it never stops, and there's no way to escape from this fallacy. And it is valid in the sense that it's valid in the sense that we can it has a logical following that is understandable, but the premise is false. And what this leaves us with is a list of two fallacies that are commonly used in our day and age. And also there's a third example of these fallacies, which I haven't shown you yet, which is, say someone wanted to give a speech, and they decided that they would make these two topics relevant. They would make circular reasoning relevant by saying that circular reasoning is important to understand because circular reasoning is something that we should grasp. Now, someone might have done that earlier, but another one that they could have done is an appeal to authority, where they could have said, my research says that appeal to authority is relevant because it is absolutely, completely true without a doubt. And so, as we can see, there are people who can want to grab our attention and waste our time for no reason. They can wish to grab us and bend us to their point of view. So we need to be prepared in order to defend ourselves against this. And if we really want to avoid fallacies, if we really want to overcome it, we have to understand how people can use them to pull us in. So I have a dream that one day